hats, everybody. We all know and love Jonathan. Wasn't he great? From the Dr. Cat Show, the Emmy Award-winning 6 seasons on Comedy Central. We're going to bring up Nick DiPaolo because Nick DiPaolo is here. Where's Nick? Come on up, Nick. Great comedian from Boston in New York now. One of the biggest podcasts in the country, The Nick DiPaolo Show. All right, we're also going to bring up the Bada Bing bartender from The Sopranos, the man, the myth, Frank freaking Santarelli right now, ladies and gentlemen. Tony V's got a ton of credits, movies, film. Wasn't he great? Give it up for Tony V. Lenny Clark, where's Lenny? The svelte Lenny Clark with like 50 credits to him. One of the greatest comedians ever. Bill Broadus, where's Bill? The writer of this thing. Blame him. We love Bill. Comedian, actor, writer, professor. Our director, Lisa Amola, ladies and gentlemen. Lisa! And ladies and gentlemen, he was in 97 scenes. Give it up for the man, the myth, for his opus. This is Steve Sweeney! Just. All right, we're going to just try and make this as smooth as possible. Jonathan, here you are. Actually, why don't we switch that? Why don't we give this one here? There we go. This went well in rehearsal. Okay. And Bill and Lisa will share a mic, if that's okay, guys. What do you guys think?
Yeah!
These guys are legends, right? Again, they weren't in the room when we first started, so we really want to point out our fearless leader. And Mike King was still dealing with tickets up until like 8:30, so Mike King was our boss through this thing. Another guy also who was not in the room when we mentioned it, we want to bring up Chris Meyer. Chris Meyer also points us in the right direction all the time. Thank you. So, Mr. Conley, too. Steve says, mention Mr. Conley, so I'm mentioning Mr. Conley right there. Well, thank you, Mr. Conley. I know Mr. Conley, sure. So, folks, we want to just start by asking them some questions and have them riff and make fun of me if they like. Yes, I'd like to also mention, Jonathan asked me to mention his wife. Susie! Where's Susie? Susie fed us grapes while we were over there. Fantastic. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start. We're going to go right to the man of the hour, Steve Sweeney. Steve, let's talk a little bit about the beginnings of this project.
What?
The beginnings of this movie. How did it all start?
Bill Broadus wrote this script, and Bill and Mike King and I would go to, what's the name of that place? Panera Bread? So we'd go to Panera Bread in like frickin' Newton because Bill lived near this particular Panera Bread. You don't need this whole story. Anyway, you know, it was a great script. I loved the script. And we had to get some money. So Dennis Sapone came along, and we went to these restaurants. Usually movies pay restaurants, you know, to use their facilities. But we actually got them to donate for the movie. And then we got enough money, and then we realized we didn't have enough money. And then my friend Kristen Williams appeared from 2 years. 2 years we hadn't spoken because we had some issues. No, we just lost touch. And then she said, "How much do you need?" I said, "We need $50,000." And she said, "It's in the who do I write the check to? So I said, this has got to be a gaffe. I mean, you know. And she did it. And so then we had enough money, and then I called up these guys, and I can't believe that these guys agreed to do this. They're so talented, aren't they?
Yeah.
I've seen them, you know, I've seen them do stand-up comedy, but every one of them is really fantastic actor, and I was just such a big fan of all of them, and it was just such a wonderful experience. It was like a family thing. Oh yeah, should I shut the fuck up now?
No, you're doing great, Steve.
So I've done 20-something movies, but I was always a hired hand. You know, I'd like 2 days, you get a week, whatever, as an actor. But to be on a movie from beginning to end, you get that. Hey, by the way, Simon, right there, he played the young judge.
Where is he? He was great.
He was wonderful. Yeah.
Nice.
Just one thing after another just happened, and we are just so grateful that you all came out tonight, too.
Thank you, Steve. I'd like to mention Bill's wife, Nancy, Jonathan is asking me to do.
I should say,
While we're there,
Stephen, I'll say thank you, Jonathan.
while we're there, we just want to also point out Jordan, Sharon, and Christina. We're all here for this. Excellent job. All right.
I just want to say,
Yes, Bill. Bill brought us, ladies and gentlemen.
Steve, nobody worked harder. No, that's not true. But Steve worked so hard on this, and it was funny because when he was playing the Sweeney guy, he had to act. And when he played the characters, he went right into them, no problem whatsoever. It was like those were real people for him. And that was the scariest part of it.
Why they weren't?
They're not only real people, they're members of my family. My mother would come home and she was tired, she was exhausted. Yeah, the character parts were easy. It was like being real, you know, and then Lisa let me make out with Sharon for a couple of different takes.
Wait. Let's ask about that. Lisa, we're going to go right to our director. Lisa, talk about that day.
Well, that particular day,
Nice and close, Lisa.
Steve got 5 or 6 takes on that.
You're supposed to be my fucking part. So Lisa, this is Lisa's first feature film. Just to let you know. Fantastic. Lisa, before we go to the right side, your left side of the stage, but talk to Jonathan as well. This is Lisa's first feature film. She's done many shorts, but we also, and I was talking to Mike about this before, this cost $100,000, and we shot it in 2.5 weeks with a couple of extra days of reshoots. So Lisa did a fantastic job, the most optimistic person that we all know. Lisa, tell us, if you will, Lisa. Now, Lisa and I have been friends for a long time, and we work together. Thank you, Mayor Koch. We work together, and Lisa, tell us a little bit about your process in switching from short films, which is all we've done before, into this film.
Well, first of all, I have to ask one person. What did you think, Uncle Leo? What did you think?
Apparently she's paying Uncle Leo tonight.
It's all for you, Uncle Leo.
It's all for you.
Yeah.
I really think that people work with me because my husband, Chris, is such a good cook. So they come on. So that's really what it boils down to for me.
All right, let's move to this side of the stage before we get to the great Jonathan Katz and Steve again. Oh, I'm coming back to Jonathan. He told me the best joke I've ever heard. I was the assistant director in this film, and when we went to his house, he was waiting to tell me this joke. Sometimes it's called the first AD, the name of the job. So he came right up to me, he goes, "What's your job in the film?" I go, "I'm the first AD." He goes, "Ever?" It was great. So ladies and gentlemen, next to me, the very svelte and famous Lenny Clark. Lenny. All right. I actually have questions because I want everybody on this panel to have some questions here. So you and Steve were working in the Boston comedy scene for a long, long time, right? Couple of years. You guys have you're talked about by others in the business as the best ever. Like I've heard Joe Rogan, people like that say these guys are the best in the country. There was no one better than guys like Lenny, Steve, Tony, all these guys around, John Gavin. First of all, is it changed much, or how does that feel when you hear that?
I'm amazed because this all started as a joke, and I saw Steve was one of the first comedians I ever saw in my life at the Ding Ho, which was the Springfield Street Saloon. Yeah, and then of course working with these guys, I mean, you had to be good because everyone around you was so good, and I think it raised the bar. Every time you worked, you had to get better and better, or the crowd would tell you, "You suck. See you next week." And we developed a certain flair, a certain style in this town that wasn't matched anywhere. And we'd see people on TV, and we'd see big stars, and they would come in and they'd eat it, and they'd say, "Wow, you guys are good." And they said, "It's what we do." And I feel so happy to see a film. I can't believe how great a job you did, Lisa, with the making Boston look so great, and to work with all these guys, and Jordan, I mean, just fabulous. So, hey, all right, there you go, yeah. Oh, that's nice. And I'm just thrilled to be in the movie, and thank you all for coming tonight. You are great. You're what makes it
Lenny
so
Clark.
good.
All right, Frank Santarelli. Frank was the bartender from The Sopranos, the Bada Bing, if you all remember. Frank, you were beat up a lot.
Mark, let me interrupt for a
Yes,
moment.
all the time.
So I've been a nervous wreck about the opening, right? And Frank said, "I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm going to do. When my scene is over, I'm standing up and walking out."
Yeah, I came here in 1985, and these guys welcomed me in, and I really did. I was from out of town, nobody knew who I was, and now clearly I'm the strongest act up here.
It was a difficult
I've worked with
task.
some great directors. I've worked with Spielberg. I'm kidding. Kubrick. Hitchcock. And all is the best. How about it?
Yeah.
So, Frank, you were beat up a lot
Yes.
in the Bada Bing.
I was.
Did you give Steve or his characters any advice on getting beat up?
How many times were you beat up?
17 times.
Frank, Lisa would like you to put these between your
thank you
teeth.
so
Thank you.
much. Yeah, I was on The Sopranos, so I really didn't have to be in this movie.
Oh, he was a joy to work with, ladies and gentlemen. Tony V, ladies and gentlemen. Tony V. Tony.
Yes.
Tony V.
I gotta say this. You know, we've been talking. We did the movie, and then it goes into post, and you hear about this, and then there's going to be this premiere, and then I saw all the people that came out to support it, and I was actually amazed at how it came together. And when I saw everybody today, I was convinced it was one of those FBI stings.
To catch a predator.
Right, that we're going to come in here, and that the FBI was going to burst in and bust us all for doing blow in the 80s.
Isn't that how you got paid?
Yeah, right. So I was so thrilled to see what got up on the screen, and when you said the budget and everything, every nickel of that was up there, and you guys deserve a lot of credit. You know what I mean? And I'm just honored to be part of it. And I also think watching that, my neck should have got its own credit.
But the chemistry between him and Steve, wasn't it great? We've seen this 1,000 times, and that chemistry was great.
Well, yeah, it's what we do. I mean, it's what we do every day. It's almost a shame to have to call it acting. You know what I mean? Because it's just so comfortable. It's just like a couple of old buddies, and that's our relationship. You know what I mean? So it was easy to transition into that. And then Bill brought us putting those gags in our mouth, and it just it just worked. You know, again, it worked and it's great.
Tony B. Nick. We saw Nick flew in from New York and
I drove. You drove up. Nice. Take the Merit? Did you take the Merit?
But when he shot with us,
How'd you go? 84? The fucking 684. Mass Pike, yeah.
Do you need a place to crack?
Yeah, Frank, now your place.
when Nick shot the film with us the day he came to shoot, we were just talking to him and he said, "I'll do anything for Steve. Anything for Steve." My question to you is why?
This cost $100 grand, this film, to make. I saw him snort that probably on a Friday night. The first time I met him at Nick's in the green room. And then Lenny doubled that the next weekend. Look at Lenny now. I wish I was snorting back then. It's fucking ripped.
His nickname was Darth Vader.
I wandered into Stitch's Comedy Club in 1986, like on a Wednesday night. It was Sweeney Meanie night. I'd never even been in a comedy club. And they're following Steve and Sweeney into the ladies' room at a Chinese restaurant. Steve has a cutout of a fireman with his face through the hole. And they kicked the door open. There was a girl taking a dump in the stall. And I said, I have to be part of this the rest of my life. So here I am.
I hope somebody's rolling on that one. Nick DiPaolo, ladies and gentlemen. Hey.
Hey, can I just mention this whole row that the cast was supposed to have, that's my family. And so proud of them for coming out.
Where's Steve? Which row?
Right there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right there with my brother-in-law Jay.
Hey, good to see you.
Yeah.
So,
and we got a couple of townies before that. And, there isn't anyone in the audience I don't know, so. Yeah.
Steve, everyone loves Steve. This is why they're all here too, right? No, he doesn't ask for that.
Now let's hear from John Katz.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Jonathan Katz.
You know, I moved to Boston the same year Frank did, in 1985, and that's it. No, and there was a hurricane the day I moved here, Hurricane Hugo, and there was looting on the block. And in fact, my wife got this beautiful sterling T-shirt. I'm not going to do jokes. No, but I wanted to say that before the movie started, I was sitting there with my wife, and I said to her, "Is that Tony V sitting behind us?" And she said, "No, sweetie, we're in Boston." Everybody sounds like Tony V. But for me, one of the best parts of the movie was to try to pick out the lines that Bill had tweaked. And almost coming out of everyone's mouth at some point was a Bill Brothers joke.
Yeah.
Great script. Excellent. We watched Jonathan Katz outtakes, and we tried to use as many as we could because every time we watched them, we could not stop laughing. As Brian Menz, our editor, did it over and over again. Everything he did there's a lot of it that was ad-libbed, and it was really good. Thank you, Jonathan.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I think, if anything, there was gratuitous comedy in this movie.
You thought it was a gratuitous comedy?
No, there was gratuitous comedy in the movie.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to start making...
Great. How do you feel about bees?
Love them.
So, Bill, speaking, Jonathan had just mentioned, what was your process in writing this, and how much of Steve's actual, I know it was based on the comedy of Steve, but clearly this is not Steve's life. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. Mostly it was that Steve had these 4 characters, and that was the genesis of the whole thing. Like, what can we do with this? Because we shot this little short film about the St. Patrick's Day parade, and Steve kind of did those characters watching the parade and that stuff. So from that, we were like, well, what can we do with them? So then we just had different ideas, and I started writing, and there were a bunch of early different versions. In fact, I think Tom Hamilton might have left, but bass player for Aerosmith, he was actually in one of the early drafts. he was going to be walking down the street talking to Steve on one of these moments, like when Steve goes to Lenny for advice. He's going to go to Tom, and Tom was going to be walking down the street, and it'd be a close-up of Tom just talking, saying, I love doing this because I just like to walk out. Nobody knows who I am and everything. And as people come by, they say, hey, it's Tom Hamilton. And as they came up back, you realize Tom's in drag. So he's just in a woman's dress, and he's just walking down the street. And unfortunately, that was in an early draft, and we never got to shoot that, and it would have been fun.
What is wrong with you, Bill?
It just went through, yeah. Well, we had a lot of, Lenny, Wright, you know, Tom, we were definitely, I wanted to use comics. I really wanted to pay homage to Boston comedy. It's what I started in 1981, and I wanted to pay a tribute to all the comics of Boston. And this is what, like, when Lenny was talking about, you know, there was such a close-knit scene early on, and I was one of the younger people when I started, and I just told Lenny the story. I'll share it quickly. This is how close-knit Boston comedy was, and like my first time on stage at the Ding Ho was like 1982 or 81, and I went on last, open mic, at the Ding Ho, with this small Chinese restaurant, and I go up there last, and everybody's drunk and they're just talking, and I just stood there reciting my jokes. I was very new. It was my first time on stage at the Ding Ho. And Lenny came up on stage, pulled the mic away from me, and this is true, looked at the audience and said, shut the fuck up, this kid's been waiting all night. Okay, go ahead, Billy.
All right.
That's what Lenny did.
That was good.
And that's what Boston comedy was. It was like people, we rooted for each other, we helped each other, and it was just a great time. And it was great to pay homage to all the comics and have them here and all that made this possible, really.
Excellent, Bill. And we're about to wrap this up, but Lisa, what was it like? Lisa, again, the most optimistic person that could do this job. What was it like herding these cats, briefly, just to wrap us up before we go to Steve for the last time?
I can't say enough, but it was a joy every day. You made me laugh every day. Every one of you is amazing. Isn't Steve Sweeney the most charming man? He really is. You're a leading man. Amazing job. Amazing story. Thank you, Brian Means, for recommending I read this project. I had a ball.
Steve, what was your favorite character to play?
Bitsy.
I like her. And I like you too.
Didn't you think the lipstick was like incredible?
Every day we'd shoot, right, and we'd do a take, and Frank would say, when do I get paid?
$125 a day. You shitting me?
Lenny and I, Bobby's probably gone, Bobby Fairley, but when Lenny and I were on Something About Mary, I was the cop, Lenny was the firefighter. At the time, and so they have what's called craft services, which is food, you know, and I said to Lenny, I'll out-eat you, and remember that? I lasted about 5 minutes. He just started shoveling this shit.
Steve, if you remember, I was supposed to be the cop and you were going to be the fireman, but I was so fat I couldn't get my ass through the window. And they said, Lenny, we're going to make you a fireman, shoot Sweeney, you be the cop. And then I proceeded to put on an eating exhibition.
Peter and Bobby, they put us in their movies. They're so supportive. It's great. And
I think we hurt them.
We hurt the film.
They were great to us. They were great.
But anyway, thank you so much for coming.
Finally, folks, we had our DP, these two guys from Now Canopy Films, which was Weekend Studios. Jordan and Alistair, where are you guys? Where are they? Stand up, you guys, if you're here. They were the guys who shot the film. These guys, 25 years old. Great job, guys. Really great. Ladies and gentlemen, this will be on demand really soon. October 7th, it'll be at what theater? The Cabot Theater up in Beverly. My name is Mark Carey on behalf of the rest